It's 2025, it's the new year, it's the perfect time to start fresh and also practice your creativity as the new year unfolds. Think of journaling as something like a workout for your creativity as you pause, reflect, and document about your life and the stories that have yet to be written. I have been journaling for over a decade now, and I can definitely tell you that this habit has been something that stuck with me through thick and thin, and also it has allowed me to ground myself and pay attention to what's in front of me as I welcome each day, each week, each month, each year, and each decade of my life. Hi, I'm Abby. I'm an artist, author, creator, and now a Skillshare teacher. And today I want to share with you 5 tips to start a daily journaling habit this 2025, so make sure to keep watching to know more. Tip number 1 is to find time and make space. I like to put 2 of these tips together because I think they go hand in hand, in the sense that when you're finding time, I want you to think about a block in your day that you can set aside for journaling, whether that's in the morning, in the midday, or in the evening. I personally choose between morning and evening depending on my schedule, but I would say 90% of the time I journal in the evening because after a really long day of things happening, I just like to sit on my desk, have my journal supplies with me and my corner, and start writing about the day that has passed. In that sense, it helps me also build the habit because I know that I'll return to my desk and write at least like 10 to 15 minutes a day, and then close my journal, wind down, and go to bed. I know the time is a bit like different depending on your circumstances, but I want to say you can allot between like 10 to 30 minutes depending on what you do, because I know some people also can have a ritual. You can make tea, light a candle, put on some nice like lo-fi jazz music. I think these small habits really create the mood and set the tone for journaling, and this really differs per person. I personally just grab my journal, pick out a pen, and usually I make a cup of herbal tea or a caffeine-free tea and kind of just get into the zone of journaling. I also want to say that you have to make space for it, not necessarily on a desk, but like in an area, or not even a room, but just a space where you can journal and also have your supplies nearby and accessible. That way it's easier for you to just grab and go. I'd like to think that if you're building habits, you have to make everything easy for you to remember so that you're not always like looking for things, making excuses to not find them, and you can get to the best part of your day, which is journaling. Tip number 2 is to start with simple prompts. So basically, prompts are guides to what you can write in your journal. Oftentimes, people ask me what to actually write in their journals, and I always say to start with prompts, especially if you don't really know how to write or what to say. But the best advice that I got, and I always live by, is if you're writing in your journal, think of it as like when you meet a friend or when you're talking to someone you love or care for, and tell them about, for example, your day. So how I would do it is like, you know, when we were younger, it was always like, "Dear diary, today this happened." It kind of still is like that for me. Like, I would go about, and most of my journal entries are very mundane and kind of silly sometimes when I read back on them. It'll be something like, today I woke up really late, and then I got late for workout class, and then I made lunch, and then I worked, and then I met up with a friend. I think most of my entries last year have been like that, and I find it funny looking back because it's the easiest way for me to remember actually how a day went, because it was very play-by-play. But obviously that can be different for everyone. Sometimes I even do it in bullet points, so it's very like, oh, in the morning I did this, and then an hour later I did that. I don't really do like times and stuff. But other prompts that are very simple and also easy to follow would be like today's top 3. Then you can write 3 things that happened about your day. A gratitude list is always very, very simple and also fun to play around, because gratitude list can just be like 10 things you're grateful for, 5 things you're grateful for, or you know, for the day it can also just be 1 thing you're grateful for. Another thing I suggest is, depending on your interests, it can be easy also to find prompts that resonate with what you would like to write about. Another prompt that you can do is every day, if you're listening to a certain playlist, you can go ahead and write those songs, or kind of tap into those creative aspects that make you you, and use that as a mechanism to start journaling. Tip number 3 is to find find your format. I always say that journaling is a great way for creative self-expression, and that is definitely true, not only with how you document your pages, how you decorate them, do you draw, do you illustrate, but also intentionally choosing the size and the materials that are going along with your journaling journey. I always say also that I have my own preferences when it comes to the size that I use, which is the A6 size. I also use fountain pens, but that doesn't necessarily mean you also have to do them too. I like to suggest it because it's the way that works for me and also kind of works within my lifestyle and the materials I have with me. But in a way, as you are able to find your format and figure out the materials that you like using, the mediums that you like to do with your journaling, it becomes apparently clear that this is the type of person you are, and it's a really great way to kind of make it an extension of you as a person. I always say like your room is an extension of your personality. At least I hold that fact very true because I always feel like my room is like a still life version of me. And I think my journal also reflects that same thing. That's also why when I pick stickers to stick on my journal cover or the cover that I use, I always try to make it more me, like it's a color that I like. It's something that I love seeing on my desk every day, and it's like my best friend. Well, an inanimate best friend, but you get the idea. So for example, for me, for my journal pages, I used to doodle a lot, but now I actually just do more of like lettering and kind of doing like some brush strokes and stuff because I used to do calligraphy and I did have a background in lettering. Shout out to everyone who has bought my books in the past. But it's something that I add as a key element on my journal pages, and I think it's a great way to remember that this is like my way of creative self-expression. So if you can find something that really like resonates with you, for example, you are an artist, an illustrator, or you like to doodle, or you are more into collage or junk journaling, then make sure to incorporate that somehow in your spreads. And obviously you don't have to do it all the time or not every day, but try it out, see what works. And I want to say it took me a really long while to get to how I currently journal. So I invite you to do the same and find that format, that formula, and that thing that makes your journal the most you. Journaling is definitely a great way to practice and exercise your creativity. And before we continue on with the tips, I'd like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry professionals across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. Skillshare can help you take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level. This is such a full circle moment for me because today I would like to talk about my Skillshare class, Everyday Journaling, 5 Creative Ways to Document Your Life, which is now live on Skillshare. In this class, I share techniques on how you can build your journaling habit. I also have 5 days of prompts that you can follow along and journal with me. I share materials that you can use. I mostly talk about stationery as well, so if you're curious about that, make sure to check out my class. I also have a resources PDF where you have more ideas, more inspiration, journal layouts, templates, and additional prompts to kickstart or continue your journaling journey. And of course, I'd love for you to take the class. So the first 500 people who click the link in my description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today, and I'm looking forward for you to check out the class. Make sure to leave a review if you have started and share your projects with us in the creative community. Tip number 4 is to celebrate the everyday. So a lot of you have left comments in my previous video saying like, oh, how do you even journal every day? Like, my life is so boring, I don't have anything to journal about. And I always think like, there isn't anything grand that I write about. Sometimes it's how I feel, sometimes it's how the day went, but sometimes it's really about the everyday moments that make life great. So some of these mundane moments that I really like, or mundane things, is making myself a nice cup of coffee or opening the windows and taking in the fresh air. It makes me feel alive. I think the mundanity allows me to feel more present and really give myself space to be alive in this moment and be grateful for where I am. And that really is something that I get through journaling, and I really, really enjoy that. So it also goes back to when I journal, I do write very mundane things, and I like to keep it that way because looking back, those are the little moments that actually make life great. I have my journal with me, and I wanted to read to you one of the mundane things that I've written. So this was September 5, 2024. Got up still late because I had just spent a month in the US, so I was pretty jet lagged. I've decided this is the pattern for the week and walked to my PO box and got coffee and worked at a cafe. I worked from the big table in the back, which was also quite nice. I got immersed in Switch on Pop, it's a podcast, which was really nice. Afternoon was catching up with soap. It's been a while. Not soap, like soap, my friend soap. I always appreciate that we air out our frustrations and catch ups before we dive into work tasks. True. I don't know, but I've just been feeling empty, demotivated lately. I'm sad about it. I just wish it was more stable, but mentally I just don't feel my best. And that's okay. I slept late, had a long text with Job to air out my feelings. Hi Job. I know I should sit with my emotions, but mind you, it's really hard. And you know, some days it looks like that, some days I'm super excited, and that's just the ebb and flow of life. And I like that I wrote it down. Looking back, it's just fine. I find it so silly because like, wow, she had a lot of feelings. And I'm still like that. I still have trouble sitting with my emotions, but that's just the growing pains of my life. Last but not the least, my fifth tip is to be flexible. We understand life happens. No one's gonna come after you if you don't update your journal today. I personally have not updated my journal in 2 days. I have a rule that I follow, which is I don't go over 3 days of not updating. So as long as I'm in the like 2-3 day window, I'm pretty okay with it. I also understand that it's so difficult to instantly get into a habit if you're not used to it at all. That's me when I started working out more frequently last year. So it definitely takes time, and I want you to give yourself some grace, some patience, and also hold space for the person that you would like to be through journaling. I won't say that it changes you overnight. I mean, it took me almost a decade to realize that, and I think in hindsight, the best thing that you can do is to just start and see where it goes. I always say this not just with journaling, but also because when you're doing daily journaling, and then for example for me, I do travel journaling. I used to do tarot journaling back in the day, and it was difficult for me to really organize myself and have this regular habit to commit to in terms of, oh, I'll update this and I'll update that. And you know, at the end of the day, you get to make that choice. You get to decide how flexible you want it to be. At the end of everything, I always just want it for you to be easy. What's easy for me may not be easy for you, but I hope you can find a workaround and a way for you to exercise the habit of journaling as often as you can. If it's not every day, maybe every 2 days, every 3 days, every week. Probably not once a month. That's pretty rare. But I really would suggest trying every week, or if you want to kind of start small, maybe do like a 3 times a week thing. It's like Sunday, Wednesday, and like weekend or something. So it really is up to you, and I would like for you to explore that. Remember, journaling has no rules, and the more flexible you are, the more open you'll be to try out different ways on how to document your days, and the more fulfilling it will be in the long run for your own journaling journey. Also, bonus tip, please, please, please use your stationery. I promise. Just wanted to put it out there. Let's talk about that in a future video. But anyway, I hope these 5 tips gave you an idea on how to start your journaling habit. As mentioned, make sure to check out my class, Everyday Journaling, 5 Creative Ways to Document Your Life. Thank you once again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to know more ideas and inspiration and ways on how you can document your days, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Also check out my Instagram, where I share a lot of tips and ideas as well, and real-time updates on my stories. And if you'd like to support this channel and to follow along my creative journey, I do have a Patreon. We call it my Journal Club, and in the Journal Club you'll be able to find more photos, exclusive content, and bonus printables, as well as monthly mail that will be sent right in your post box. So that's on patreon.com/abbyc. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a lovely rest of 2025. Let me know what's your favorite tip in the comments, and let's chat over there. Always be creating, and take care. Bye!